Okay. Next, what I have for you guys, our final news update for today is breaking poll news. Americans demand weed to be legalized. There go that word again, legalization. And remember, go to the Wacky Leaf merch links, and you go. I think I think it's on Redbubble, and you will find the legalization shirts with the different countries. We're gonna work on states. If there's a country, state, whatever you guys don't see, and just comment, let us know. We'll get on it. We got to do the New Year's. We got to do the Christmas. I'm pretty sure. We'll get all those shirts out there. So go down to to the merch link. Click on it. Go over there. There has to be at least 30 different places, and I will again make a list of those places that we have available, and get back to you guys. But let's get on this news. And if we have time, we'll get on the merch. We'll deep dive. Nah, I'll save that for the next show. Yeah, so let's get back to the America demanding for weed to be legalized. Roll it.
So since President Trump took action and signed that executive order to reclassify the good herb from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, we've seen lots of folks come out in support of full legalization. And now the polls are overwhelming. It's absolutely clear. America wants legal herb. And this will be a big issue for voters in the next elections, both state and federal, because this rescheduling move could be the push that's finally needed to force full legalization.
How would Americans feel about it being rescheduled?
Yeah, this would be some of the best politics that Donald Trump has done in a long period of time if, in fact, the U.S. decides to reschedule marijuana. Why do I say this? Take a look here. Say marijuana should be legal. Look at the time span and look at how much higher and higher and higher favoring Americans have in terms of legalizing marijuana. Look at this. In 1969, it was just 12%. In 85, 23%. 20 years ago, it was 36%. Look at this, nearly double from where we were just 20 years ago in terms of the percentage of Americans who say that marijuana should in fact be legalized in the country. 64%, 2 in 3 Americans. You rarely get 2 in 3 Americans to agree on anything, but they do in fact agree that marijuana should be legal.
Well, this is how people feel about it and the popularity of this move. But over the years, if you put aside the popularity, how has usage changed and shifted?
Yeah, it's the same trend line. It turns out that Americans have increasingly been saying Tootsie Tootsie goodbye, have ever used marijuana. Look at this. In 1969, 4%. 1985, 33%. 1999, 34%. Then you look in 2024, nearly half of Americans now have at least used marijuana one time, and the percentage who say they're using it right now is also near record highs. And Kate, I will note when I said that Tootsie Tootsie goodbye, I don't think you quite got the reference. It's a reference to Primary Colors, a film.
Okay, thank you so much.
Now guys, the numbers are there for everyone to see. The reefer madness population is declining while the number of folks that actually are open to legalization or in fact do use the good herb is increasing. And that's a good thing. And by the way guys, happy holidays. And something that I noticed over my holiday celebrations is that when I had family and friends over on Christmas Eve, absolutely no one drank any alcohol. I bought like 15 beers and no one drank any of them, including myself. And that goes to show that more and more folks are in favor of the good herb rather than drinking alcohol. The alcohol consumption is in decline. It's in free fall. And that's why some of these industries are absolutely shaking in their boots. They're losing profits. But what's really good to see is despite the fact that more and more Americans are drinking less, it does not necessarily equate to more reefer madness. madness. What it does equate to is that more and more folks are open to the idea of legalization. And that's absolutely clear from this poll. And according to this, a bipartisan majority of Americans support rescheduling and say it has medical value. And this is a big change from times past when the good herb was placed squarely in Category 1, Schedule 1, which basically means that it has no accepted medical benefits. So with this massive change and seeing politicians on both sides use legalization as a ploy, as the carrot being dangled to gather votes, what I can say is that the next elections, both state and federal, this issue will be a lot bigger than folks think. Have a look.
President Trump has just made the biggest change in marijuana policy in 55 years. He's taken pot from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3 drug, meaning it's gone from the company of heroin to the company of Tylenol with codeine. Still, marijuana is illegal in the state of Idaho, and it's headed for a major collision at the ballot box. I'm senior reporter Roland Barris, and a citizen-led initiative intends to legalize medical marijuana. But the legislature, they have also introduced a constitutional amendment that, if passed, would nullify your voice and your vote. It's the legislature versus the people of Idaho in the battle over legalizing medical marijuana.
We are doing some polling right now, and there is strong indications that there is very strong support in the conservative space for this across the states.
That's Amanda Watson, spokesperson for the Natural Medicine Alliance of Idaho. Her group is collecting signatures for an initiative that would legalize medical marijuana only.
Ours is a very, very restrictive law. It's not like some of the ones that we've seen before. So we're hoping that it covers kind of the concerns of the GOP, and then we also can treat people who've been struggling, you know.
In recent years, multiple attempts to legalize marijuana by a group called Kind Idaho failed. So they're ending their efforts and joining forces with the alliance, which has more resources.
What we may see across multiple states, in particular those currently prohibition states, is that this executive order to reschedule the good herb from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 could be the push that they need to finally force some form of legalization, whether it's medical or full recreational. But it is a big move because Americans across multiple states are in favor of legalization. I mean, it's about time. And the truth is, politicians have been running on this issue for a long time now. So let's take it back to 2020, before the 2020 election, because this issue is also at the forefront of a lot of voters' mind, especially when it came to the Democrat candidates. Check it out.
Nevertheless, most 2020 presidential hopefuls are in favor of legalization in some form or another. The support comes from both progressives and moderates. President Trump has also noted his support for states to decide what they want to do. Earlier, my colleague Alex Dennis spoke to Mona Zhang. She's editor of Word on the Tree. They talked about how 2020 Democratic stances on marijuana differ.
I mean, they're all pretty much for legalization. This is the real first presidential election you're seeing where so many candidates are talking about this issue so openly and saying that they support legalization on the federal level.
So we're seeing that an increasing number of Americans support marijuana legalization, really across all ages. It's even the first time a majority of Republicans have now supported legalization in a CBS News poll that we had here. So do you think that this has caused a significant shift? What has caused that shift?
I think you've seen societal attitudes towards marijuana policy shift tremendously, in large part because so many states have legalized it. And I think voters see, well, you know, Colorado legalized it years ago and the sky hasn't fallen and there's nothing terrible happening in society because there's a cannabis dispensary down the street. So there's this societal shift, and also the voting public tends to be ahead of policymakers on this issue. So I think this push is largely, you know, from the voters pressing lawmakers to become more liberal on the issue.
So voters have been making their voices clear for such a long time now. And I clearly remember before the 2020 election, legalization was a big issue that the Democrats ran on. And turns out that while the rescheduling process was started, it was not actually completed. So seeing now that President Trump for the Republican Party is finally directing and taking steps to have that rescheduling process completed, I think it's a big move. But the truth is, no matter how you split it and no matter what state you're looking at, the voters are way ahead of the lawmakers when it comes to the policy changes surrounding the good herb. All the polls show that America just wants legal herb. Check it out.
According to a new UNF poll, it is clear the majority of those questioned are in favor of legalizing marijuana, according to Dr. Michael Bender, who led the research. 66% of the respondents indicated they would vote in favor of legalizing marijuana. 30% say they would vote against it, and 4% say they did not know how they would vote in the next election. The amendment is spearheaded by Smart and Safe Florida, with major backing from the company TruLeaf and from other medical marijuana providers like INSA. We talked to the co-founder of the company, Peter Gallagher.
I think there were a lot of misperceptions the last time around, and I think if you look at the ballot initiative this time around, some of the language has been a little bit more carefully crafted, to address some of the concerns that people had.
So that was over in Florida, and they support recreational herb. And recently, we've seen Amendment 3 fail, which was a measure intended to legalize recreationally over in Florida, but it was just a bad bill. If signed into law, it would have prohibited home grows and in effect monopolized the market. But the point is that in states like Florida and even Utah, folks want legal herb. The polls are overwhelming.
A new poll has some surprising results about Utah's feelings on cannabis.
I think it's important to know where we are as a state.
I'm Ben Winslow on Utah's Capitol Hill. The poll was actually commissioned by a group supporting medical cannabis, but it asked about people's feelings about legalizing recreational marijuana.
It's so much better.
Chad Dennison is a medical cannabis patient.
I broke my back jumping out of airplanes for the Army and also have been diagnosed with severe PTSD and major depressive disorder from my time in Afghanistan.
He says cannabis has helped him quit taking a lot of pills that didn't make him feel good.
Just amazed how much it actually helped.
Utah voters legalized medical cannabis in 2018 after a citizen ballot initiative. The legislature then implemented a tightly controlled program. But a new survey finds a majority of Utahns, 52%, would support a ballot initiative to legalize recreational cannabis. 38% would oppose it.
So we've heard a lot about patients and other folks who begrudgingly would like to go recreational because it's easier, because it makes access greater.
Alex Orge is with the group Keep Utah Medical, which paid for the poll. He's also a co-founder of Wholesome, a medical cannabis company, and worked on the Prop 2 campaign. But he doesn't support legalizing recreational marijuana. Here's why.
I don't think that there is that appetite quite yet. But if we don't get ahead of this, if we don't start looking at ways to improve our program, if we don't make it easier for patients to access medical cannabis here in our state, it will happen eventually. It's happened in every state around us that's passed a medical program.
The poll appears to be a warning to the Utah legislature over long-standing complaints about the state's program. A deeper dive into the poll shows legalizing recreational cannabis is not a slam dunk. Conservatives and Latter-day Saint voters largely oppose it, while moderates, independents, and non-LDS voters support. Two of Utah's top political leaders oppose recreational marijuana. The Senate president says Utah already has a program that's both effective and well-balanced, ensuring individuals suffering from chronic pain or serious illnesses have access while maintaining safeguards to prevent misuse of this drug. I oppose further expansion, as our focus should be on what truly benefits our state and Utahns.
I know a lot of people can't afford get a medical card and carry a medical card and renew it every so often.
Despite the fact that a majority of Americans across multiple states are calling for full legalization, lawmakers are saying no, we know better, and that's not what you guys want, that's not what you guys need. We're going to tell you guys what's best for you. Now, I do want to show you guys a few more states where the polls are pretty surprising, but also show you guys a state in Alabama where they finally rolled out their medical program, but the patient eligibility is absolutely crazy. Over 60 doctors have taken a course that's needed to recommend the good herb in Alabama. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics, use the code LEGAL, it works on the bundle and the beans.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James Crummell. Recreational marijuana is not legal in Pennsylvania, despite urging from Governor Shapiro and a majority of Democrats in the legislature. But that could change in the new year thanks to an unlikely advocate, President Trump. Dennis Owens joins us now to explain this one for us. Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon to you, James. Last week, the president issued an executive order moving marijuana from a Schedule 1 classified drug, which is highly addictive with not too much medical benefit, to a Schedule 3, which is less addictive with some medical benefit. Many see this as the president legitimizing marijuana, giving political cover for Republicans who have been resistant to supporting legalization. The executive order also calls for more solid research on the benefits and harms of marijuana, which John Gallagher is all for. He's a researcher and professor at Alvernia University and also an addiction specialist. He says more research is needed, and he won't wade into the political debate over whether to legalize it or not, but says the marijuana industry claims that it's not addictive is just not true.
I go back to the two things that we know without a doubt. Cannabis is absolutely an addicting drug for some, and cannabis absolutely has withdrawal symptoms for some people who become dependent on it.
Gallagher said it is appropriate that it was reclassified from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 because its addictiveness is not the same as those Schedule 1 drugs and is more moderate. James, he suspects Pennsylvania will ultimately legalize recreational marijuana, given that most of the states around us have already done so. He says there just hasn't been enough research on its medical benefits, and that will now come. And he just said, I want the information to be out there. You know, when Oxycontin, and he's not comparing Oxycontin to marijuana, but when it first came out, all the marketing was, it's not addictive, it's less addictive. Well, that was not true. And he says to suggest that it's not at all addictive is not true. Some 30% of folks can develop, who use it can develop addiction to it. He has seen it, he has treated it.
So it's pretty interesting to see what effect this executive order could have on currently prohibition states, even Pennsylvania. Now we're going to hop over to Tennessee and North Carolina to see what they have to say about this whole thing. But first, let's head over to Alabama because they've rolled out their medical program and they have courses that doctors need to take to be able to prescribe the good herb. Have a look.
Dr. Marshall Walker's mother is thankfully now cancer-free. Walker says where her tumor was located made eating painful, but he says she was able to avoid a feeding tube and taking pain medicines that cause stomach bleeding and ulcers because she self-medicated with cannabis, purchased out of state where it was legal.
She thought that basically, damn the torpedoes. She was willing to face the legal consequences if they came because her life was on the line.
After Alabama legalized medical cannabis in 2021, Walker says he took the State Medical Association's course that the Alabama Medical Licensure Board requires doctors to take before they can approve patient use. He's one of 60 doctors. According to the Medical Association, all the legal challenges with implementing medical cannabis created uncertainty, and they're anticipating renewed interest from doctors now that dispensary licenses have been awarded. 3 of the 4 dispensary operators are expected to receive their license in hand January 8th. An attorney for the state medical board says once that happens, their application process for doctors will go live.
So Alabama has a really strict medical program and a really strict stance when it comes to the good herb in general. And sticking with Alabama, just a couple days ago, a mother was charged after cannabis was allegedly discovered in students' holiday treats. Check it out.
Good evening. A class Christmas party ended with drugs in the hands of kindergarten students. This happened Thursday in Bruton after a mother gave out goodie bags filled with candy and police say marijuana crumbs. WEAR's Copeland Welch joining us. And Copeland, you spoke with the mother of a Bruton Elementary student who feels she's owed an explanation.
I sure did, and she's not happy with the response or lack of from the school district. Christy Quinn is the mother of a first grade student at Bruton Elementary, a small town where sharing with friends, even in other grades, is encouraged.
She's constantly giving something to another student or bringing something home from another student. So, yeah, she's big on the sharing.
But when social media posts revealed kindergartners were exposed to marijuana at a class Christmas party,
I had a little panic attack, because you're not expecting to wake up and see that.
The Christmas party happened last Thursday, but it wasn't till later that evening that a parent found particles of marijuana inside the goodie bag filled with wrapped candy that was sent home. Quinn tells us she's disappointed in the school district.
I was just a little irritated that the school didn't notify us, because they're really good about notifying about everything. And I'm just assuming that they just didn't want to alarm, a whole bunch of people, and get in an uproar about it. But it would have been nice to have been notified, yeah.
Now, in the past, we've seen instances where kids are accidentally at Halloween given some of these candies or edibles or gummies. But this situation was slightly different because there were crumbs of flour in a large bag which did have some legit candies. Now, another state which is similar to Alabama when it comes to its prohibitionist stance is Tennessee. And this rescheduling order could shake things up over in Tennessee. Have a look.
Republican State House Speaker Cameron Sexton saying there will have to be conversations about who manufactures it, who tests it, who distributes, which medical illness could it be used for, does this require FDA approval, and a host of other questions. House Majority Leader writing, Tennessee will continue to strictly regulate intoxicating substances to protect public health and safety, especially vulnerable populations. Any change in the federal drug schedule that acknowledges legitimate medical use based on scientific evidence will certainly be taken into consideration as we strive to form an appropriate legal framework for dangerous substances. Some Democrats saying this is a good change, but it doesn't nearly scratch the surface.
So rescheduling, reclassification is definitely going to shake things up across multiple states across America. And when the polls are overwhelmingly clear, it's going to be harder and harder to deny the people what they want, even in places like North Carolina.
In a bitterly divided state, there are not many topics that draw the majority of support from Republicans, Democrats, and unaffiliated voters, but medical marijuana legalization is one of them.
After years of trying many different pharmaceuticals and still being sick and still having almost no quality of life and being homebound for quite a while and a couple of years, I was desperate to try anything.
Corey Stahl has Crohn's disease. At the time, she was living in Colorado and started using medical marijuana, which provided great relief for her symptoms. Crohn's is one of the conditions that was covered under the North Carolina Compassionate Care Act, a 2023 bill that passed the state Senate but not the House. After moving to North Carolina, Corey and her husband Eric opened Modern Apotheca, a hemp dispensary.
What we try to help folks understand is that while medical marijuana is hopefully on the horizon and can really help with people with next level diagnoses like Crohn's and colitis, the everyday aches and pains and sleep issues that so many of us have, CBD and THC are helpful for that.
Senator Greg Meyer supports medical marijuana legalization, though believes the state should go a step further.
I'm going to push full legalization. I don't think there's any reason to take the half step to medical. Medical actually costs us a ton of money to administer the program and might actually lose money. And people are ready for full legalization as long as we get good regulation.
He plans on filing a bill for recreational use this session, where he'll likely face pushback. Opponents have often cited safety concerns, a point brought up by Jordan Davidson, the government affairs manager for Smart Approaches to Marijuana. Davidson entered addiction recovery as a teenager for cannabis use disorder. While he and the group support criminal justice reform around the drug, they oppose any form of legalization.
But most Americans also don't want addiction for profit industries funded by big tobacco that are selling their products as just medicinal. We saw this with tobacco, doctors recommending cigarettes. We saw this with opioids, Purdue Pharma saying that they're less than 1% addictive. We saw it with marijuana.
So while the polls are clear and a majority of Americans across multiple states do favor legalization, there'll always be pushback, especially from some of these prohibitionist groups like SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana. But let me know what you guys think about all this. Do Americans in fact favor legalization? Are you in favor of full legalization, or do you guys prefer that things remain the way they are? Because according to all the polls that we showed you guys, the numbers, they're clear. But drop your thoughts and concerns in the comment section down below. Now in our next video, there's been lots of concern when it comes to rescheduling and your Second Amendment right. And the Supreme Court, they're going to make a decision on that. So if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It's coming up right now.
Okay. Hey, look here. 1969, 12% people thought it should be legal. 1985, 23%. 2005, 36%. 2025, 64%. And I'm pretty sure about, with this momentum going on right now, it's about damn near 80%. You know what I'm saying? It has to be. Tell me how you feel. Do you feel like legalization is coming? And if it is, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Are you excited? Drop your thoughts, your comments. This is interesting. This is good. This is very good. This is very good. This is very good. So, all right. Again, leave your comments and your questions down low. Tell me, how do you feel about legalization? I think if we, I don't want to say police it, but if we use it responsibly, you know, it can be a good thing for not just America, but the world. So, ooh, I look higher than the motherfucker, huh? Yeah, there we go. So, you go ahead. Tell me what you think about how Trump signed that paper, turning it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. Is this the next? Is this the moving force that we finally needed to get it legalized? So this is very good. Hey, look, I enjoyed this show. I'm enjoying this show, and I told you I was gonna have a good one for you guys today too. This is very good. And that was our final news update. America demands weed to be legalized. Yeah. America. And mind you, this it's a world thing. It's a world thing. We trying to get it. We ain't gonna push it right now. We're gonna work with America, but you know, it's like the weed plant. Grow out. We're gonna grow branches and spread out. Yeah. Okay. All right. Now that we got all the news out the way, that's all your cannabis news, law, and updates.